I'm currently in Morocco. It's my first visit to Africa, and it's also my first visit to kind of the Arab world. A journey of firsts for me in many ways, and I've been here for about 48 hours, and I wanted to fill you in on everything that's been happening because a lot has happened, but it's been really hard to vlog it in the moment because I've been so busy trying to figure out where to go, what to do, what's happening, that it's really hard to also get out my camera and explain to you all what's happening in the moment because everything is so different and I just have to kind of stay focused on navigating my way through this new world. And so here's what's been happening in my first 48 hours in Morocco. I flew into Tangier from Madrid. If you're ever in Spain, it's actually very cheap to fly to Morocco. So it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So I landed Sunday afternoon in Tangier. I needed to get from Tangier to Chefchaouen. It was a little tough negotiating with the drivers outside the airport. It was hard to tell what the price should actually be. There was a driver who said he would take me for less money, and then all the other drivers ganged up on him, and then he wouldn't talk to me anymore. And so I ended up going with the original price offered to me, but then something really weird happened as we were leaving the airport. So I'm in this official taxi leaving the airport, and this guy who had been talking to my taxi driver at the airport, I saw him run down the street and get in his own van, and then he started following us. And then once we were outside the airport a little ways, my taxi driver pulled over, and then this other guy in the van came to his window and started talking to him and gave him some money, and then all of a sudden they're taking my stuff from the official taxi into this other van. I was just like, what is happening? Quite possibly, like, could be getting kidnapped. Who knows? Like, it's not great when you get transferred into another vehicle right outside the airport. I didn't know what to do. Like, maybe these dudes will just leave me here if I cause a fuss. So I got in the other van, which just, I think, was Hassan's family passenger van. But Hassan was being kind of friendly.
There is Tangier in the corner.
Oh, really?
Mediterranean is there.
But I was also like a little upset about how the negotiations had gone, and also this weird transfer that they were like, no, it's normal. And I'm like, this for sure is not normal. So when I was transferring vans from the taxi to the unofficial taxi, I made sure to say to Hassan, like, same price, right? And he was like, yes, same price. So we continue on to Chefchaouen. It looks like this is just a situation where he kind of needs the money and is kind of trying to be a hustler. So I'm like, whatever, we're still going to Chefchaouen. We have to stop for gas because he's running out of gas, and he's like, you can pay me now. And I was like, I will give you 100 dirham now. I'll give you the rest when we get there. Like, I'm not taking the risk of giving you all the money now, which I didn't say in so many words, but he kind of got the point. We got some gas, we got to Chefchaouen, and then I give him the rest of the money, and he was like, oh, like, not 700 dirham, 70 euros. I said 70 euros, and I was like, absolutely not. I don't even have 50 more, like, goodbye. If you're ever here, it seems like if you get forceful, then he was kind of like backed off, and he was like, oh, as you like, and it's like, this isn't what I like, it's the price that, anywho. Oh, this is a long lead up. I swear it gets more interesting. I've been given directions from my Airbnb host from this specific drop-off, and I checked with Hassan to make sure, like, this is the place, right? And he's like, yes, this is the place. He doesn't know. He's dropped me off in the wrong spot. So the directions don't make sense. I'm wandering around for a while. I'm trying to get back on track. I know a little French, so I start asking locals about landmarks and how I should go. So this 5-minute walk ends up, it's like an hour later, and I'm still not able to find my Airbnb spot, and now it's getting dark. There's this really kind woman who's out walking, and she tells me, like, come with me, and so I'm following her, and she's a little angel. She kind of leads me to the right area generally. But because I started in such the wrong spot, there was just no way to kind of course correct. So I'm not able to find my Airbnb. I don't have mobile data. What should I do? I'm close to tears because it's been an hour of like going up and down stairs, asking so many people, unable to find my spot. And then the guy who works the front desk of that hotel comes out and tries to help me and is so wonderful. Like, God bless this man. He gives me their Wi-Fi code free of charge. I am able to contact my Airbnb host through WhatsApp. She says she's a couple minutes away, she'll come get me. I try to give him some money because I have some American money. I'm out of dirhams, but I do have some American money to be like, thank you so much, like, you literally deserve this. He refuses the money, which I'm like, what? In Spain, when I tried to get the Wi-Fi code from someone because I was desperately trying to print out my boarding pass because Ryanair requires that, a guy refused. And it was like I wanted to use the Wi-Fi for 5 minutes just so that I could send him the boarding pass to print, and he refused and made me walk 5 blocks to McDonald's and send it to him and then come back. And this guy in Morocco just lets me use their Wi-Fi, no questions asked, wanting to help me just out of the goodness of his heart. So God bless that woman, God bless him. I get picked up by my Airbnb host, and that's when things like start to get a lot better. So I go out with her and 2 other people who are staying at the Airbnb that night, this Australian couple. We all go out to dinner together, and suddenly I'm surrounded by good company. I'm having meatballs. So the night ends really well, and it seems like everything's back on track. And then I talk to my Airbnb host and I say, I really want to go to God's Bridge tomorrow. Would you be able to get me a guide? She says, you don't need a guide. She gives me kind of verbal instructions and she marks a point on the map for me. So if you ever come to Morocco, download maps.me. It works really well in Chefchaouen. So I have it on the map, and she says to just kind of walk the path by the river and then you'll get there. No way to get lost. Super simple. So I was like, great. I'm not gonna hire a guide. I'm just gonna do it myself. Little solo hike. The next morning, I'm headed to my hike. On the way there, I stop at this place that sells bus tickets. I need to get my bus ticket to Fez. She says they're all sold out. I'm like, that's not great because I'm leaving tomorrow. It brings up a little bit of anxiety, but I'm kind of like, I'll deal with that later. I go to the taxi stand and I get a shared taxi to the point where the hike for God's Bridge starts. There's this guy in a yellow vest who's kind of in charge of organizing the taxis, and he tells me that it's actually for 7 passengers plus the driver, so that 8 people are gonna fit in this tiny car. And I was kind of like looking in the car, looking at him like, you want me to sit in the front seat for this one person? Like, look at me. I'm not a child. Look at my size. You think 2 of me are gonna fit in the front passenger seat? Like, what? I'm not really in a place to argue, so I'm like, okay. So I pay double so that I can have both seats in the passenger side. My Airbnb host actually let me know later that this is normal, and they do usually squeeze 4 people in the back and 2 people in the passenger seat for these older cars. And then when you're going longer distance, you get a shared van where everybody actually does have a seat. We're on our way to the hike. Beautiful countryside. I'm getting really excited because I've managed to find the taxi spot, get in a taxi with other people, and I'm on my way to this beautiful hike. On the drive there, I start to experience what being in a Moroccan taxi is like. So we stop one time for the driver to just put air in his tires. We stop another time for a passenger in the back seat to stop at the post office. And I'm like, okay, like, can we just stop anywhere? What's happening? We get dropped off eventually, and I'm following the instructions on the hike, and it all seems pretty straightforward at first. I'm walking along. And then it comes time to cut down, because it's important, she said, to not miss the cutoff to go down, because if you stay up, then you just view God's Bridge from above, and there's no way once you're actually there to get down to the bottom. And she had known this girl who tried to get to the bottom from that top point and fell and was horribly injured and went into a coma. So I was like, for sure, not staying up there. Following the river path. But to get down to the river is really complicated, and it starts to get pretty rocky. And there's this American couple that comes by me, and they're very athletic. They're like tall, athletic gods, are also having trouble. And so I'm like, ooh, maybe I'm like in over my head. But I like managed to get down by the river. It was kind of scary at a certain point when you're kind of scaling boulders and you're going over really slippery rocks, and there's a possibility for you to fall into little crevices, or there's a possibility you'll sprain your ankle and no one will be there to help you, because the Americans I could kind of follow to a certain point, but they were much faster than me, so they eventually got pretty far ahead. And so then it kind of comes the question of like, if I hurt myself, who will help me? If I fall and hit my head and fall into the water, I'm for sure drowning. No one's here to help me. So I'm kind of concerned and wish that I did have a guide. And so as I'm kind of like, ooh, I'm in over my head, a thunderstorm starts. It goes from sunny to just a lot of thunder overhead very quickly. So now I'm like, oh, I've gotten this far into the hike. I think I'm almost there. But now there's a possibility of a huge rainstorm. And if there's a rainstorm, I for sure know that I'm not going to be able to get out, because the rocks are going to be way too slippery, and I'm having difficulty handling it with only a few of the rocks being wet. If you know me, you know that I'm a very cautious person. So I would normally only do a hike like that if I was with a really experienced friend who knew what they were doing. But this is the situation I'm in. I feel like I'm almost there, so I keep going. I eventually reach it. It's pretty, but also the weather has turned, so I'm just like, oh, I'll just take my drone up, try to get a few shots. My drone's not working properly. It can't connect to GPS. Will only go 15 feet in the air. which isn't that helpful because obviously God's Bridge is really high. As I'm landing it, it can't find the home point. I'm trying to land it, I accidentally crash it. So now I've crashed my drone. I'm really freaked out about the walk back. I'm just like, what did I get myself into? Everyone who I told that I was going to Morocco was really concerned about my safety. And it's just funny that people are like, ooh, watch out, like Morocco might be dangerous for Westerners. No, like the most dangerous part so far has definitely been that hike. So, that I didn't need a guide for. Anyway, so I see God's Bridge and I head back, and that's when the rain starts. Thankfully, there are these little stands that are set up along the way. One or two of those restaurant owners were super helpful to me, and that's once again like locals who did not have to help me, helped me out and like pointed me on the right way, because it was just really hard to see where I was supposed to go, and the fact that they helped me meant so much to me. And then the rain starts, and that's kind of scary. I just went on one of the scariest hikes of my life solo. My adrenaline is crazy right now. But I've gotten through kind of the most complicated part, and I'm able to get back to the taxi stand. And I get a taxi back to Chefchaouen, and I want to take a shower because I'm really muddy and sweaty and dirty from my hike, but all of the water has gone off in town, so it's like literally the one time in my life where I'm like proactively wanting to take a shower instead of having to take a shower. I'm not like a big shower person, and I can't because there's no water. The couple that's also staying at the Airbnb, we end up walking up to the Spanish mosque together to watch the sunset. So nice to then also have dinner again with that couple. So it's an Australian couple who is essentially kind of semi-adopted me. They're so nice and so friendly, and the next morning we walked through town together and got smoothies, and they're in Fez now, and I think we're gonna have dinner tonight, and so they're wonderful, and I'm so thankful for them and their friendliness. I don't like to generalize about entire people, but I will say that Australians seem like the nicest people ever. Anyway, where was I? Oh, the next morning we kind of walk around Chefchaouen and enjoy it. It's an amazingly beautiful city. I really liked being there. I felt very safe. I'm glad that I went there. All of this is to describe like the complications that occurred in my journey so far, but I'm very glad that I visited there. This is my Airbnb.
Okay.
You love it.
Yeah, trust me. The taste with honey and raisin. You don't taste nothing. Yeah.
So since I wasn't able to get a bus ticket, my Airbnb host told me where the shared taxis to Wazan were, which is like a third of the way to Fez. So I went down there. Basically, you need 6 people to fill up this taxi to Wazan. It ended up being a 40-minute wait until we had a full car, so I'm just kind of sitting there. Hard to tell like what's happening because everything's happening in Arabic. When they'd speak to me, it'd be a little French, which I'd understand, but yeah, all the negotiations and organization is happening in Arabic, so I didn't really understand what's going on. I'm just trying to be patient, so it ends up being a 40-minute wait, and then we're all packed into the van and we're off. I've been really pleasantly surprised that I haven't really been given a hard time here. I'm in this taxi with 6 other men, including the driver, and there is like zero harassment, there's zero weird looks, everyone kind of just leaves me be. I listen to some music, I watch the countryside go by, it's really beautiful, take some video of course, and then I end up falling asleep. And so when we get to Wazan, I'm really disoriented because I've fallen asleep, I'm waking up, I'm like, oh, we're here, where am I supposed to go? My plan is to take another shared taxi from Wazan to Fez, but there's this guy who kind of greets me and I tell him shared taxi to Fez, and he says no, bus. And I was like, oh, like my Airbnb host said to get a shared taxi. So I'm like following this dude who is in no way official, but he's like, no, bus. And he's like taking me away from the taxis over to a different part of Wazan's like station area, if you can call it that. I'm in front of a bus and I'm like trying to make sure like this goes to Fez, right? They take my suitcase, they put it under, I give them some money, I get on the bus, and then I'm kind of waiting. I have no idea when it's taking off. I really hope that I'm actually going to Fez. I can't read the ticket, so I like have no confirmation in front of me that it's actually going to Fez, except for this man telling me it's going to Fez, and so I'm just very confused. I just basically woke up, 2 minutes later I'm on a bus going to Fez. It's like things are working out too well, I don't know what's happening. So we're off, and now I'm on a bus to Fez. It's once again, it's a different experience than a bus in the US because it makes random stops and pick up people from local villages. And so we're making our way, but we're making our way slowly. And I think that there's recess happening at a school outside right now, which is the extra noise you hear. So sorry about that. Anyway, we just stop a lot on our way, which is fine. I listen to music, I listen to an armchair expert podcast, and then my headphones die and I just kind of watch the scenery go by. We arrive in Fez and I'm like, wow, I actually made it to Fez. Like, this was not the simplest route, but I did it and I traveled like a local and it's great. So then I'm in Fez and I need to get from Fez to the Riyadh where I'm staying because, of course, I somehow booked my Airbnb dates wrong. When I booked, my mind just did something wrong. So I had booked this Riyadh last minute. I give the address to a taxi driver. There's this unofficial taxi driver who's kind of hassling me and trying to get me to go with him. And I'm like, no, I learned my lesson. I'm sticking with the official taxi driver. And so I'm showing him the address. He has to get out his glasses. He's looking at it. He's like, I don't know where this is. I'm trying to ask him in broken French, like where to go. He only speaks Arabic, just a little bit of French, so it's just we're not communicating. Obviously there's this hustler on the side trying to take advantage of the situation. And so he's like, yeah, I'll take you. So I'm very thankful to this guy. He was kind of very fatherly, and I think he took pity on me as a solo female traveler, and so I really am also thankful for him. This is kind of a story about the kindness of strangers, I think, because in the US or in other European countries that I've visited, I'm able to navigate through things so much more smoothly because it's so much more familiar to me, and I often have mobile data or Wi-Fi access, and so I just have to ask for help far less often, and that's been something I've been having to do consistently throughout this. And like the kindness that the Moroccan people has shown me has been truly incredible and has been one of the best parts of my visit, because like I would not be here in this hotel in Fez like without them. Anyway, so this driver, since he doesn't know where we're going, and I guess it's not common to have Google Maps or mobile data on your phone, because I was like, just plug it in like to your phone, but that's not a thing here. He drives for like a few minutes and pulls over. So he asks this police officer and this taxi driver where the hotel is. They don't really know. The taxi driver is nice enough to call on his phone to the Riyadh to get directions.
رياض بالضبط عندي واحد كليان انا شي فور الطاكسي صافي على الشمال في اليمين في اليمين صافي يلا.
So he gets me to the right area, but then it's hard to find my specific Riyadh, so we're kind of circling, we're asking locals everywhere, just kind of like, where's the Riyadh, where's the Riyadh? And once again, it's thanks to locals like telling my taxi driver where to go. So that's been my time in Morocco so far. Overall, at this moment, I feel really happy to be here. I'm trying to just go with the flow, and hopefully things continue to work out. All right, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.